guys, and welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you the story of Magic the Gathering. Today, we have a lot to discuss as we learn more and more about the changes occurring on Ravnica with, of course, a genocidal, multiversal god dragon planeswalker making this world his final battleground. I love it. But for today's discussion, we'll be focused on some old figures of the Boros Legion returning to the fight. Once forgotten angels and actual spaceships, yeah, you heard me right, spaceships, make their grand return in War of the Spark. First, let's start with the spaceship. Yes, Ravnica has its own spaceship, and it makes a return as a vehicle, no less, as a card, Parhelion 2. So the first question you'll have is, naturally, what the hell happened to Parhelion 1? Why do we see this sequel but not the original? Well, for good reason. It was all but destroyed in the history of Magic the Gathering. The story of the Parhelion dates back to the original story of Ravnica, before we returned in about 500 different blocks. The Parhelion itself is actually the main guild hall of the Boros Legion, a subsection of or like an addition to Sunhome. These two locations differ only that Parhelion was built specifically for the angels of the Boros Legion, and that it was designed to, well, fly. Now, don't get me started on how they managed to get this oddly shaped literal anvil to fly. It's magic, right? Or maybe the Izzet helped out in its design, or it's just angel dust or something, who knows. So whatever that means, the Parhelion flies and is the order hall of the Boros angels, namely the Firemanes, or the winged original angels of the Boros. The four wings actually matter, and we'll get into that later in this video. So let's go ahead and slow things down. Why was this flying fortress actually built? Well, it was originally built by the Parun of the Boros Legion, the angel Razia, to investigate something little actually new on Ravnica at the time. At the time of the signing of the original Guild Pact designed by the former Planeswalker Azor, rest in peace, the founders of the guilds were not 100% notified of what the pact would do to Ravnica. The oldest Guildmasters had known about Planeswalkers for some time, or at least many did, but suddenly Planeswalkers stopped traveling to Ravnica altogether, pretty much right after Azor left. This is the mystery Razia had the Parhelion built for. Using its flight, it would explore the very edges of the plane itself, looking for whatever was stopping them from coming to Ravnica, or basically any sense of a barrier shutting the world out. When the Parhelion flew to the farthest expanse, however, that ship found nothing. Just vast nothingness, the blind eternity, essentially. Failing to find anything of value into this, the Parhelion came back, parked itself amongst the clouds, and remained the remote operating guild hall of the Boros Firemane Angels. So that's the basic origins of the Parhelion, but to discuss why we have a Parhelion 2, we actually need to learn a little bit more about another returning character, Feather, who gets a brand new card in War of the Spark known as Feather the Redeemed. Why was she redeemed? And why was she tied to the Parhelion? Well, let's find out. So Feather is the descendant of Razia, but not like her daughter. Angels on Ravnica basically just make other angels as copies of themselves with pure white mana with a splash of red thrown in there for that fiery, vengeful Boros measure, you know? Feather was Razia's creation. Razia, being the Guildmaster of the Boros Legion, put her as a high target in the schemes of the original Ravnica set. The main antagonist, that being the Dimir Guildmaster, the vampire Sadiq, who promptly killed the Parun of the Boros and secretly replaced her with a shapeshifter from his own guild. Now, Razia has a pretty checkered and mysterious background. Mainly, we don't know a lot about her past. We know that she ran afoul of the Boros Guild as a whole at some point in her history. She did something to dishonor herself, but we don't really know what that was. But it's actually how she got tied to the Wojak Argus Cross and the entire story of the original Ravnica block. I'm not going to go into the entire story of Dissension, but that's where things really start to get crazy in this original storyline. Basically, Feather discovers the death of Razia and helped Argus to capture the vampire Zadik, who was looking to break the original Guild Pact and take control over the entire city. In doing so, Feather was allowed to return to the Parhelion, but what she found there was gruesome. Every Firemane angel was completely slaughtered. Zadik had snuck in as a ghost this time and used his power over spirits to kill every angel in the ancient hall. Feeling this weight of grief, Feather basically exiled herself for years and left the Parhelion as a ghost yard. This is where we see Feather and the Parhelion sort of kind of cross paths. With the ship just floating there, unattained, Zadik used it, or attempted to use it, to get revenge on the people who had betrayed him and ultimately killed him. And the story's a little weird. He's kind of under the command of another player involved, but that's pretty complex in terms of the story. A story I hope to cover in its own in another video entirely, but that's for another day. But we basically got a ghost vampire pissed off and taking control of the original Parhelion. His idea for this ship was to fly it straight into the original guild hall of the Azorius Senate, which he did. Thus the end of the original Parhelion and the original Azorius halls while he was at it. So the Parhelion is destroyed. What happened to Feather though? Well, Feather, despite the dishonor of losing each of the final Firemane angels and other acts that were kind of unknown to us, was named the Guildmaster of the Boros Legion. She was, however, an ineffective leader. In that, she wasn't as militant as many of the remaining angels would want her to be. She was basically given the title as a courtesy for being the remaining creation of Razia. Her rule over the guild would be challenged as she started to show less activity in the guild itself, and this was challenged by Aurelia, the current guild leader of the Boros. She charged that a dishonored angel had no right to lead, and Feather was deposed and arrested again. And I really don't know why exactly. Anyway, Feather was eventually busted out of jail by none other than Cranko Mob Boss as a part of another plan, but went into exile once again. Now with a new Parhelion taking fight against the armies of Nicol Bolas, Feather is allowed to return on behalf of Aurelia as the war thickens. The Parhelion too is stationed to the Flying Knights of the Boros as well as the two winged angels left in the Boros Legion. The now single remaining Firemane angel, original Firemane anyway, Feather again redeems her honor to the Boros, taking the fight and command of angels in the fight against the Eternals. Plus, the spaceship has a big mega laser that shoots pure light. Who says that isn't badass, right? This is such a great realization of War of the Spark. The fact that the previous blocks, the Boros Sunhome is shown as to have this massive ship as part of its architecture in its entire time, only for it to fly off and help the fight. And the return of a once great Guildmaster to the story for her first ever printed card is just another way that even the Super Lore Pact set can go and answer some old questions. This is just one example of how War of the Spark is pushing the envelope, and of course, spaceships. Anyway guys, that's gonna do it for today's lore discussion video. Let me know what your thoughts on Feather and the Parhelion's return in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave it a like, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss out on our newest videos, and of course, give it a share. A share on Reddit can go a long way in supporting our content here. You can also support us on Patreon, and joining the Vorthos army, you can get signed Aether bundles. These are limited mythic sets with signed mythic rares, all that kind of stuff in the theme. You can go ahead and check that out in the description below, but there is a limited amount of supplies, so please go ahead and get yours today. Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed watching, and I'll catch you next time here on the Aether Hub. See ya!